Monday afternoon, I took some acid with a friend and settled into my apartment for a nice long trip. We were sitting on my bed coloring and eating cherries when my friend says something that didn't make a lot of sense. I ask him to repeat himself, and again, he says something kind of weird that didn't make sense. When I look at him, he makes a weird, jerky movement. I'm getting kind of freaked out, so I leave the room to get him some Ativan. We de-squirreled away in case of a bad trip, which he seems he might be heading towards, and a glass of water. While I'm in the kitchen, I start to hear screaming over and over from the other room. I dash back in, fumbling with the bottle. My friend appears to be staring at something on the floor, raising his hands as if to block whatever it was he was seeing from his view. Now, I've tripped a couple of times, but I've never seen anything that wasn't there. So I figure that he must be way further down the rabbit hole than I've ever been. I'm struggling with the bottle cap while he screams and shakes. Fucking child-proof lids. Trying to reassure him that everything is going to be fine. And then suddenly he goes completely silent and lies back on the bed. His body jerks over and over, and his every breath is a gurgle. I realize he's having a seizure. I call the paramedics, tell them we're tripping and my friend is seizing. And a few minutes later, there's a bunch of paramedics, firemen, and cops inside my tiny apartment trying to subdue my friend who's pissing on the floor. One of the cops who'd responded to my call was kind enough to give me a ride to the hospital in a patrol car so that I could be near my friend. I admitted myself to the ER as well, thinking we'd had some bad drugs and I could start seizing too. But the doctors looked me over and told me I was fine. Periodically, my friend's doctors would come into my room and ask questions about what we'd taken, what it had looked like, what exactly had happened, etc. I reminded them all that I was still tripping balls, but tried to answer their questions as best as I could. After a couple of hours of examining and questioning, they discharged me to the waiting room. I still probably had about 6 hours left in my trip at that point, and I still hadn't seen my friend. After another hour or two, one of the hospital administrators came to me and took me aside. She told me my friend was very sick, potentially dying, and that they were moving him from ER to the ICU. ICU visiting hours were over. They wanted to let me see him before I left with a friend who'd come to give me a ride and help my trip brain figure out what came next. In case he fucking died, I'll never forget the way my friend looked in that hospital bed. He was so small and weak looking for such a tall, fit guy. Worst day of my life to date.